Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm down here in this corner. I'm over here. Yeah, okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. This is the Street Epistemology call-in show. I have three wonderful panelists here, ready to talk to you, and me too. So, really, this for I don't know why it's an us and them thing. Probably because I'm big and they're small. I think it's quite cute when Quayd is small like that. Okay, never mind. I should grab an invitation and I should pop it in the chat right there and probably pull out that cool banner that says, yeah, that's the one that I want. We're waiting for you to call in. While we wait, are there any announcements? Does somebody have an announcement?
Yeah, there is. Starting tomorrow evening, I think at 6 Central, that's 7 Eastern time, there is a meeting starting for people who want to organize local SE groups in their areas. There is a Patreon link that we can post in the comments for people who are interested in discussing what's worked, what hasn't worked, concerns, and other ideas for starting local SE clubs in their areas. We will post it in the chat so that people can check it out, and perhaps I think Lisa Fisher, Unruly Lucy, is leading the meetings.
Okay. In Utah.
In Utah.
Excellent. Yeah, she's in Utah.
There'll be a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
But this will be the first of, I hope, many.
Cool. Glad to know. Yeah, I'm all in favor of those local meeting group ups. That's actually how I got started when Reed dropped a meetup opportunity for me with him at the beginning of 2020. And I got to go to UCLA and sit at his table and his awesome equipment and set up and learn from the master and sit at the feet of the master and go, oh, shouldn't message. Right. Okay. And I heart Reed. Okay. And I don't mind if he knows it, but it's all good. And how about them sports teams? Anyway, does somebody had a claim?
Yep, that would be me.
Quayd had a claim.
Yeah, yes, I do. I think we'll just, I know David badly wants to do a blind one, so I could hide it from you, David, if you want me to, or I could come out with it. I guess I'll leave it up to you.
I can happily wait, given that we have the smallest of preamble.
Okay.
I don't mind if Gina might want to start having some practice on somebody that she trusts and hopefully likes. But that could be a good partnership.
Okay.
Hello, Claire.
That sounds good to me.
Sure. So I think that means Quayd and Gina. Is that right?
Okay.
Enjoy.
All right.
Quayd.
Yeah. Hey, Gina, how's it going?
Okay, how are you? It's been a while since we talked.
Yeah, it's been busy.
I don't think I've ever done a SE on here, and this will be interesting. Did you say you wanted to do it blind? Or was that David?
Yeah, that was David. Let's try not blind.
All right.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good contrast claim to the one 2 weeks ago. So my claim is that people can eat meat ethically.
Okay, people can eat meat ethically. So can you help me understand first how you're using your terms in this claim.
Any terms in particular, like can?
Eating meat, what qualifies as meat?
Okay. Yeah, meat, that might just be a difficult question to answer, but it's usually an animal product that is made of some type of flesh, and fat and muscle that it's going to be related to the information I'll eventually give, but it's particularly high in protein and doesn't have any carbohydrates in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So high in protein, does that include what kinds of animals does that come from? Is it mainly livestock, fish, seafood, poultry, meat, cows? What
Yeah.
kinds of meat? Or what kinds of animals and what's not included?
I think in terms of the ethical part of my claim, it would be limited to poultry, fish. Yeah, mostly poultry and fish. So I would exclude, I think, beef from. I mean, beef is obviously meat, but I wouldn't. That's not what I would consider ethical. What would be another one? Yeah, basically, yeah, poultry and fish.
What are the ethical concerns in this claim?
Well, one is like health. I think another one is going to be, I think overall, to like put it simply, it's going to be increasing muscle mass while keeping fat low, body fat low.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, obviously, the effects it's going to have in other places, like on your heart and stuff. That's why I would exclude beef more, I think.
Are there any other ethical concerns to people besides health concerns?
Yeah, I mean, there are things to consider, the treatment of the livestock and, things like that, the well-being of the animals. Those are some things that I consider, maybe other people consider more than me, but definitely I consider as well. Effects on environment, I think, is going to be a big one. So,
Where do you see the effects on the environment being the most drastic?
well, so I think the most drastic, I think, probably has to do with the release of like greenhouse gases. But this is usually when we're talking about large numbers of livestock. And I think a question that I don't have an answer to yet that I'm interested in is if we stopped eating so much beef and started eating like more, let's say, chicken and fish, is there going to be a similar amount of greenhouse gas emissions released? That's something I don't have an answer to. But I think that's the biggest concern, is the potential, the gas emissions.
So the greenhouse gases like methane that you see in the farming of livestock being the biggest impact environmentally.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways this could be mitigated?
I actually don't know. My hope would be, and I don't know that this is true, but if we stopped eating so much beef and we ate more poultry and fish, that maybe there would be less gases emitted. But I don't know that. I have no clue.
You have no way of testing or figuring that out?
I'm sure there is a way to test it and figure it out, and I've tried to find an answer, but I can't find a clear one. So finding the answer is difficult.
So you see, to paraphrase the claim, to make sure I'm understanding you right, you see fish and poultry and birds, chickens, as the biggest hope for ethically consuming meat. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's I thought you were going to. I thought I was going to have to say that wasn't right, but yeah, I think that is right. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. How sure are you about this?
I would say 75% maybe.
And what's your biggest reason?
My biggest reason for the original claim, which was that you can eat meat ethically, is that I think that that your chances of building muscle mass and so increasing your strength are greater when consuming protein while keeping body fat low. That's the hard part, I think, is finding substitutes that you could eat that would allow you to build muscle mass while keeping your body fat low. And then with that muscle mass comes power, which allows you to essentially make better ethical decisions. Because unfortunately, we have societies that run off of power dynamics. So that's kind of like my biggest reason for thinking that.
I'm not sure I understand. Can you paraphrase again, please?
So the idea is that with the consumption of poultry and fish, you can increase muscle mass while keeping body fat low, and so it'll be easier to be more fit and stronger with that option as a food source, and that gives you more power. And the reality is that our society runs off of power, so that power allows you to make better ethical decisions in society. Like, for instance, defending somebody, let's say, like coming to someone's defense is harder to do if you don't have the same muscle mass as somebody else.
So the idea is to increase muscle fitness in order to make better decisions ethically, to be able to defend those who might need it more. And the idea is more physical fitness leads to more clear thinking. Is that what I'm hearing?
I didn't say the clear thinking part, but I'm sure that it does. Yeah. But the first part was right. Just the idea of being able to defend others, including even animals, I would say. Like, you could better come to the defense of animals if you're more fit, and it's particularly when it comes to muscle fitness. Yes.
What would someone who disagrees with you say about this, who maybe doesn't think that there's any way to eat meat ethically?
Yeah, I think the two things that I could think that they would say, one would be that you could find different sources of like protein that you can still build muscle mass without meat. So that's going to be one thing. And then I think the other thing they might say is it ethical to prioritize your muscle mass over the suffering of kind of sentient living beings? I think are the two things that they might say.
So I think we covered your claim, we covered your confidence, we covered your main reason, and what people who disagreed with you would say. What could you possibly learn that might increase your confidence?
I think learning about, I mean, there could be multiple things, but I think two ones that I'm thinking off the top of my head. One would be learning of an alternate food source that is high in protein but doesn't have carbohydrates in it. I haven't found that. And that, as somebody who's planned their diet very particularly in the past, I haven't recently. I'm not claiming to be an ethical meat eater right now, by the way. I would say I am unethical in my meat eating practices, which I do not enjoy, and I'm trying to get back to that place. But when I did plan my diet, the only way that I could keep low body fat while still building muscle mass was to have meat. So if I found another food source that allowed me to cut out my carbohydrates while having a high amount of protein, that would immediately change my mind. I would just switch to that other food source. Or if I found out that like eating meat really just in the long term, no matter how much you eat, is just bad for you all around. Like it's actually not going to make you more healthy in some other way that's vitally important. That might also convince me, I think. Or maybe even if it has like some psychological effects that are negative, like people who eat meat are always more aggressive and actually make less ethical decisions when they're eating meat. I think that could convince me too.
So, to repeat back, I think I heard you say that you'd be more convinced that there are ethical ways of eating meat if you learned that there were I'm sorry, I'm having some trouble here.
You're right.
If you learned that there were more low carb ways of eating healthy, eating more meat and less carbs, is that right?
If I found another food source that wasn't a meat source, if there was another food source that didn't have carbohydrates and had a high amount of protein, then that would change my mind that you can eat meat ethically. Because then I would just eat that other food source, and anybody who ate meat at that point I couldn't think of another reason they would have to.
So that's ways that could decrease your confidence. What about increase? What are some of the things you could learn that would make you more convinced that you can eat meat ethically?
I would think if I found out that experts had a consensus on eating meat, if experts came to the conclusion that having meat in your diet was the best way to increase muscle mass while keeping body fat as low as possible, and some people maybe don't have to eat meat, but if there was consensus that there was a certain portion of people, maybe even most people, had to eat meat to optimize their muscle mass growth while minimizing body fat, then that would increase my confidence. If there was expert consensus on it, more expert consensus would change my mind.
So you would accept more expert consensus that more experts believe, more people like dietitians and nutritionists and doctors believe that there are ways to eat meat that are healthier for us.
Yep. Dietitians, I think, is one field that I would want to consult on it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I could also, somebody in the comment had said, what are my thoughts on like lab grown meat? And and I do think that would be more ethical. Oh, actually, yeah, that would also decrease my confidence. If lab grown meat was more abundant and cheaper than farmed meat, then I would consider it unethical to eat farmed meat at that point, and I would just eat the lab-grown meat.
And so having alternatives to it would make it unnecessary.
Right. That would also change my confidence. High protein plant-based diet is not different than protein match mixed diet in supporting muscle strength. And yeah, the issue isn't necessarily. I would be interested in, again, where the consensus is on that, and also more meta-analyses on it. But it is also the idea of increasing, and this is partly anecdotal because my own experiences of trying to increase my muscle mass, I can do that by eating other things that aren't meat, and I've tried that. But the problem was that I was putting on too much body fat. The only way that I found to decrease my body fat was to decrease my carbohydrates. And meat has a very unique quality of not having any carbohydrates. It's very hard. I don't know of one other food source that has as high a protein content while having no carbohydrates, none whatsoever. It made it easier for me to manage my diet with that. But I'm still looking into it too.
Okay. I think that is all the questions I have for you. Is there anything you had wished I had asked?
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, you asked all the questions that I was hoping that you would ask that allowed me to like think through it. So thanks, Gina. I'm still not sure where to go, so I guess the questions that I wished you would have asked, I don't know what those questions are. Yeah, I guess that's my point.
I can jump in if you wish.
Quayd.
Thanks, Gina. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when you said expert consensus would raise your confidence in the claim. That was a claim you made, by the way. Is that true? Yeah. Okay. Just to clarify. So, what would be defined as expert consensus?
It would be one of two things. One would be if I was looking in like the dietitian literature or potentially some type of epidemiology literature. I'm not exactly sure, and it is taken for granted in all the literature that I look for that meat needs to be a part of our diet. That would be one way that I could kind of glean expert consensus. And then the other one would be a poll or a survey. If they just surveyed the dietitians and they were answering a specific question that indicated that that's what they thought.
I love this meta epistemology of trust the experts. I call it a meta because I want to say that it's one layer from the actual epistemology. And of course, the question is, how do you select your experts for this claim?
That is a good, that's something that I've had a problem with in the past that I don't have an exact good answer to. It's like, if I want to know what evolutionary biologists, if I want to know like what experts think about evolution, it's like, I definitely want to consult evolutionary biologists for sure. That's going to be one. But I also think I would want to consult biologists generally. And so I guess my answer is that there isn't always a good answer to that. I'm always thinking about what fields do I think are most relevant to the topic being discussed. So like dietitians would definitely probably be one. That might even be the main one. I would probably want to consult anybody that's any relevant experts to the medical professions. So epidemiology might be one. Health professionals. I think or just the field of health in general is an expertise. So I think you could poll health experts, but
okay.
the answer is still that it's not easy. That's the hard part, I think, is thinking about which experts are relevant.
Kristen asks, what about eggs?
Yeah, I think eggs are good too. I think the middle part of the eggs isn't good, the cholesterol ball that's in there. So that's actually yeah, that's a good one right there, because actually,
Cholesterol ball coming to a theater near you.
yeah, you would have to eat a lot of eggs to get the protein that you would need to build muscle mass, but you could do it. You could do it.
Well, eggs don't have any carbohydrates, right?
Right.
And so it's fats and it's proteins. The cholesterol being a form of fat. Am I correct about that?
Yep.
So the part that isn't fat is protein?
The part that isn't fat is protein. Yeah. Yeah, the same thing with
So
meat.
so when I look at the question of get enough protein, as long as the protein isn't a vanishingly small and the fat is a huge, I'm just thinking about the caloric balance, not the actual mass. What's the calories? What's the macronutrients in it? And if I have a balance of fat and protein, and that balance is not whack, I should get protein, unless maybe it's not a complete protein. Are eggs a complete protein? Meaning
No.
all the basic amino acids?
Oh, that I don't know. That's a good question too. I didn't even think about the amino acids. But
yeah, that's one of the votes for meat, is that it's a complete protein, and you don't have to carefully balance your corn and beans or your rice and something else. Anyway, there's something about getting the base 10 that you need, or 9 or 10. I think there's one that's optional, or I'm not sure what.
You said it's called a complete protein. That's what it's called.
Complete protein, in the sense that it contains useful quantities of the amino acids we can't form from other amino acids. Like there's 20 or 22 amino acids, and there's 9 that are critical because we have to get them from our diet. We can't synthesize them internally.
I'm going to look that up.
Layman's understanding. I don't know. I don't know much more than what I just said. I couldn't name them.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, it seems to me, I have to look that up. If the egg whites have all the essential proteins, or all the essential amino acids that you need, then at that point, in my mind, I would be telling myself, just suck it up, stop eating meat because it causes suffering, and just eat fresh eggs.
Right, or egg whites, because you're preferring not to no cholesterol.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that was a good one. Yeah. I have eaten a lot of eggs before though, and it does suck, but I survived. So that's the important part.
So it sucked eating a lot of eggs.
Yeah.
What was the effect when you first of all, so that I understand scale, what fraction of your diet was eggs? I'm meaning in like macronutrients, calories or something, compared to like the rest of it. And then what effect did you have from that? And maybe that's compared to what kind of diet?
So when I was eating a lot of eggs, I have it mapped out. I can't tell you the percentage right now. It's on my computer, but I was eating maybe 10 eggs, and I was just having bad digestive.
10 eggs in one day?
In one day.
Per day. And eating the yolks with them?
No, I wasn't eating the yolks.
Just the egg whites of 10 eggs?
Just the egg whites, okay. Yeah. And then so I dropped down to 2 egg whites, and then I started eating meat.
Okay.
And that just seemed to work better for me. But I did survive. I was okay. And I didn't try it very long too. So there's a causation thing going on there, where I assume because I ate a lot of eggs for a few days that the eggs were the issue, where they might not have been.
I like eggs. I like meat.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to do a single person study, how many days would I have to go to a meat only or eggs only diet in order to produce a useful result?
I have no clue. I don't even know. my guess would be at least a year. It might be useful, but like a very tiny amount. It's not going to be very useful, I don't think.
No, I was suggesting that a test of shift all of my animal protein to either eggs or meat, not both, for a time frame, and see if I have an effect that we can discern. But based on what you're talking about, maybe on the scale of week or weeks, would
Yeah.
it be enough?
And I think you'd have to go see doctors too, and maybe consult with them and see what they're saying about maybe changes in your constitution, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah, we'd have to find that. Now, right now, I'm doing a primary thing of I'm trying to manage my diet in order to optimize for morning blood sugar. And I am not completely clear on what my target is for the blood sugar. I have been convinced it's been too high. So I'm already controlling my diet a whole bunch. Making a change like shifting all my protein from one source to another would not be a big deal for me. So if somebody wants to do that and knows what they're doing, it's in the audience, hit me up. I'd probably be willing to try on little trials like that. Okay, so I hear a list of amino acids: beef, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, soy, quinoa, and buckwheat. And then incomplete proteins could be nuts, seeds, beans, and some grains. So I think with those, you have to mix and match and know which ones you have to fill your holes in.
Quinoa has carbohydrates in it, though, right? Does quinoa have carbohydrates? That is a...
Yeah, I think soy and quinoa is going to have carbohydrates. Now, maybe there's a way to process soy to where it no longer does. I don't know. Rosemary says lentils are fairly complete. Okay. Hemp seeds have all 9 and omega-3 and low carb. Okay, so hemp seeds. I have those in my salads and I like them. Those are great. Anyway, so we are waiting for a caller to come in and make a claim. We, of course, can play amongst ourselves. Chase asks, why are you afraid of carbs?
I'm not afraid of carbs. I'm afraid of the wrong amount of carbs.
Okay. So what happens when you get not enough carbs?
Well, you don't have enough energy to do what you need to do. Like I've done high intensity sports and I know when I don't have enough carbs, I can't do those sports.
Okay.
But if I do the wrong amount, then I start putting on body fat.
And then, okay, so the other side is if you have too much, you start piling on body fat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's always been the only way that I could get my diet balanced was to have meat in that.
Very good. Very good. Okay. We would love to have somebody call in and bring a claim. And otherwise, we're gonna try amongst ourselves doing things that are SE-like and SE-related and SE-meta and all messy. No, that's just too far a pun. Ignore that. Jury is instructed to disregard. David wanted to try a blind claim. Is this something that you'd like to try with us on the panel, or is it better? Do you want to hold out for an audience member?
I'd love to hold out. Yeah, okay. It's wonderful just to have that completely blind, sort of two strangers kind of environment. I've also got a quick 5-minute test
already. Yeah, it's a thing.
I have a 5-minute thought experiment that I've been working on as well. I'm trying to tweak. So
by all means, 5-minute thought experiment.
Yeah, that is going to be the start of that blind claim. So it's always works better.
I see. So that'll be part
100%. Yeah, sorry. Carry on.
No, I was just saying that's going to be part of your blind claim, not something that you're bringing right now.
No.
Okay.
It's going to be part of the claim. Yeah. It always works best if there's 100% confidence in the claim, obviously.
Oh, okay. So you prefer a blind claim with a very high confidence?
High, yeah, let's go high. It doesn't have to be 100.
All right.
100's great.
Okay, very good. Let's see. The things I'm thinking about aren't appropriate to bring up right now. They're like, wait, no, not that one. Sorry, I should reach over to the Aporia banner and go.
Does Thomas have a claim?
Absolutely, Thomas, bring it. Happy to revisit a claim, have a different tack on the same thing. Is that you can never step in the same river twice. So it's one of those things where the second conversation is not very much like the first. Bring it in, Thomas. Love to revisit your previous claim.
While I've got a moment, could I just
Please
shell out for 10 seconds my new podcast? I did a podcast long ago called the DRP, and it interviewed various different humanist, secularist, atheist, futurist types. And it got fun up to the pandemic, and then I stopped. And now I've been trying to get back into it by interviewing people that I specifically disagree with. And it's called The Divide. And we're trying to bridge that gap between people. And I had my first podcast conversation yesterday. It's not up yet, but it will be in the coming days, I'm sure, possibly later today, possibly tomorrow. And it's with a flat earther. So that was an interesting conversation. A lot of big claims, but it does involve my my thought experiment, which I tried for the first time, and it needed maybe tweaking a little bit. But my big take from the conversation was I was surprised at how skeptical he was. I wasn't expecting him to be so questioning and so open to having that conversation. So that was very interesting.
Hi, Thomas. And hello, Thomas's cat.
Hey, she says hi.
Hello
she
again.
sat right in front of my camera as soon as I went live. So.
Okay.
So I believe the previous one was without some socialism, capitalism is slavery light, I believe. So I would pretty much. Sorry, let me set this down somewhere my cat isn't sitting. Move. Okay, so, oh, jeez. This isn't working. All right. Oh, here we go. Okay, so, I would, upon further thought, I would take the word slavery completely out of it. So my confidence on this claim, I would say, is much lower, probably in the 40s, maybe. I think just, I mean, you had mentioned Congo, and I just ran into some info on the history of that, how that went down with the Dutch, and what nothing like that is happening. Same with, you know, the American slaves. We can't really compare what's going on present day homelessness wise with that. And we couldn't even call it indentured servitude or anything like that. It just doesn't fit. So I'm not sure what term would best fit to revise the claim. But yeah, I think I would probably drill down to something more along the lines of it's perhaps wrong and counterproductive to criminalize homelessness. Something along that line.
Okay, so criminalize. Doesn't know how to spell that. I don't either. Let me see. Criminal. Try it. Does that look right? Criminalize homelessness?
Oh, well, on this claim, I would, and bad is not probably a term I would defend.
Okay.
So I would say counterproductive. I think I could probably make an argument for that. Counterproductive to capitalism, to criminalize homelessness. I could argue that, and I'd be pretty high on that claim.
Okay. Just so I can stick it in the claim, what percentage do you want to put on the claim to start?
Yeah, I'd say on that, let's say 60. Let's see. What's the claim again? Sorry.
I've got it. Counterproductive to criminalize homelessness.
Yeah. I would give that a good 75%.
75%. Thank you. All right. Would either of you fine gentlemen like to do this interview?
I had this last time.
You had this one last time. Good. Okay, so
yeah,
David's out of the running. Boom.
Hi, David.
Quayd, is it you or me?
You can take it, Dali.
Thank you. All right. It is counterproductive to criminalize homelessness. You are 75% sure of that. Criminalizing.
You know,
go ahead.
If it's not too late, I'd like to raise it to maybe 85.
Sure. 85%. Click. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So, do you have any examples currently where homeless people are criminalized?
Yeah, I would say that just how our society is set up with land ownership and rental costs, that any so I guess my argument sort of hinges on the belief that there are always going to be those in society that are unable to function in a capitalistic system due to, in some cases, it may just be, yeah, the chicken ambience. It may just be, broadly speaking, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It just, for whatever reason, it doesn't jive with how certain people are set up. Then we could bring mental illness into it. Perhaps some people would love to participate more, but they have certain things holding them back. Also, just you bring just the sort of the harshness of the luck of the universe for some who really just don't have any safety nets and have catastrophic things happen to them. So really, it's those people are us in different circumstances. So, other countries sort of on maybe a lower economic status than the U.S., like Brazil, or and I don't know a lot about this, and maybe I'm oversimplifying, but at least people could build favelas and I think that's what it's called, in low cost structures to at least call home base, and perhaps pay just very minimal,
Okay.
amounts of rent or whatever it is.
They could rent land and put substandard housing on it for a
Yes.
very low amount.
Right.
Okay.
So if we're just basically, it seems like what most cities, some are really trying things like tiny house villages and things like that to help. But it seems like for the most part, there's a lot of just temporary lots that people are allowed to camp in, or that people camp in illegally because it's not by permission, and then their structures are raised and they have to move somewhere else. So this is not, my argument is it's not productive. It's
Okay.
counterproductive. It's just
So what goes wrong when you criminalize homelessness? What is the downside? What there is a counterproductivity. This is your opportunity to paint that picture for me.
well, I mean, honestly, if you don't have a certain number of safety nets for people, or people that are slipping through the cracks, too many of those people, those sort of, it's very complex, the reasons that people become homeless. And like I said before, it's, health reasons, any number of things. Repeat your question. I just lost. I'm so sorry.
Well, that's fine. What I'm looking for you to is to paint me a picture of the downside, so that counterproductive part is
so not allowing people a home base to feel safe and out of the elements, that basically not allowing that springboard. And this was sort of the crux of my argument from the other show, that not allowing people to have that sort of home base doesn't allow them to enter society in a easy way. If people are living in their cars, it's certainly a
very
huge
first step. The very first step to participate is one that excludes too many people, and that's why it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a healthy society, if those people are not included and sort of accepted as a cost of living sort of situation for us all. I mean, we can talk all we want about, we the people, and America, the greatest country in the world. But if we're not taking care of Americans who are down on their luck, or for, whatever, perfect storm sort of reasons, and even people who sort of like just opt out, for whatever reason, there's always going to be people who disagree with the way things are for whatever reason. And that's sort of their, flow through life, is to explore that, perhaps.
Okay. So they opt out of participation in the race, whatever that is.
Sure.
And they don't want to do it. Now what is it? What I hear is that I think your solution, and maybe I'm filling this in, so tell me if I'm just making stuff up, is that we provide a basic standard of shelter. I think we've only talked about shelter, but you could expand on what that means. What shelter and care means is up to you.
I would include healthcare in that, but yes.
Okay, healthcare and shelter is food.
I would say right now, as far as I'm aware, that would be lower on my list because I would say
the food might be their own responsibility.
Somewhat of an abundance of food, even if you're homeless, and there are churches, there are food stamps. I understand.
So there's already things in place for them to deal with the food, so we don't have to consider that part right now. Is what I'm hearing. That food will be maintained.
It's lower on the but I mean, I think certainly
shelter and healthcare.
Yes.
Now, you'd like to provide shelter and healthcare to who qualifies?
Good question. I would say anyone who applies. Everyone in America, I would say, is guaranteed to that. Now we're getting into administrative stuff, and yes, I understand. I can make these broad pronouncements.
Sure.
And if I were president or whatever, then I would certainly hire people to figure this out and really,
Yeah. Chase is bringing up the far cry on one side. That's good. Keep going, Chase. By the way, if I manage to sound not neutral, it's because I'm not neutral and I might be overcompensating. Okay, so
I would love to hear your non.
Yeah, and I want to try to
because I want that
until we get to you can flip it on me.
Okay.
So as my own exercise, I'm going to try to stay neutral enough that you can't tell unless you already know. All right. Next, who pays for it? Is this handled at a societal taxation government level? Is this handled at the community level? Is this handled with individual charity? How do we provide that thing of which you're speaking?
I would say through taxes.
Okay. So is this
government
at the federal level, taxes at the state level? Do you have an opinion about that?
I don't. I would prefer it at a federal level personally.
Okay. Reed asks a question that is asking about two other moral claims that he thinks are related. Could you give me your confidence on, first, from each according to their ability? Just that part.
I would say my confidence is high on that. I would say my confidence is high on that. I would say 75.
Okay, 75 on the first one. How about the second one? Two each according to their need.
I would say that's about the same.
Okay, so both of those are 75%. Cool.
And the reason the claim is stated like this is that I do think there would be an upfront cost. I do think people would say that it's unreasonable, just to steel man or maybe straw man a little bit. I do think that the line would be fuzzy as to who gets what and when and why. I think that medical reasons and mental health reasons should be certainly sort of first taken into account, and health reasons, certainly. So, these things could be maybe rolled out in a tiered fashion. It's not, I'm not saying let's flip the table.
Okay. So somebody's going to talk to me about the value or the cost of doing all this, and I'm probably going to get figures that I don't believe, because they're when I look at the ones on one side and ones on the other, they get a 10-to-1 difference. So I don't think either one must necessarily be right. One of them might be, but I'm not sure I could tell.
Right.
Let's put the cost aside for a moment. What is the benefit? You say it's counterproductive, so there's a better productivity. There's a better result that happens when we provide to, now as far as who, I think it was everybody in the country that opts for it was kind of what we're talking
Citizens, United States citizens, I suppose.
about. Okay, so you're holding it to citizens that opt for it.
And I don't know. I mean, that's a whole nother sort of.
I'm not asking you whether
thing.
you would do the corner cases, because that would be a digger that would take me too long.
Yeah.
That I would love to do that when we come around to it and say, okay, now we have this one, and are we going to find, where's the edge of that definition? I love to be pedantic like that. But for right now, I'm going to say we've got all these people, and it's a pretty wide group. There is a significant financial cost to that, and that's going to probably be the first thing that opponents of you are going to talk about.
Yes.
Tell me
High
about
cost outlay.
tell me about the significant benefits, especially if you can figure out how to translate them into dollars.
More people would be able to join the workforce, essentially. That providing that basic service, that basic need, and I would argue that it's a human need for shelter of some sort, that just providing that would eventually lead to people being able to recover from whatever catastrophic things have happened to cause them and to be in this position that they have to ask the government to house them, or recover from whatever illness they may have, whatever disability perhaps. This is where they live, but they live in a country that cares about them and takes care of people who are less lucky. And I think even that just eventually on the general population, because bad luck hits every family. It's not, I really feel like it's rare for people to be able to look wide in their family or social group and not find someone who has been hit by some, illness or
Sure.
whatever catastrophic financial,
Asking how asks a, is this a real reason question? I'm going to try to translate it. If the goal is increasing the workforce, should this be a requisite component? And maybe I want to soften the question to, I was asking specifically for positive financial benefits. So whether that one would be required of people, maybe the question is, what fraction of people do you think would return to the workforce, and what fraction would stay on the public dole?
I don't know.
Don't know. That's fine. Okay, so
and I think it's almost beside the point in a way. And I think that's where this gets into, okay, is this a moral claim then? And I think it rides that line, and I noticed it from the other claim I made too. Is this a moral claim?
Right. If it were not a moral claim, I think comparing dollars to dollars would be like direct. Or I could say this many lives saved versus that. And if our goal is public safety, or if I were to, so whatever. But as soon as we're saying it's good for the individuals, it's intrinsically good for the people that are being served that we do this, now it's a moral claim as well. I mean, they add together.
Right. I think in this claim, that's why I like this wording, because I think it's easier to show the benefit to society in dollar value.
You're trying to show it that even aside from the moral, it would be something. Yeah. Okay. So we got people returning to the workforce, and now I want to just bat back. What if I was in a country with slowly rising unemployment? Is it a benefit to me to increase the workforce? Or is that a net cost? Well, I guess it's putting somebody on unemployment, but if you're already providing this, I'm going to shorthand it, call it UBI, or universal basic shelter, UBS.
Yeah.
That the question of unemployment, it's a little offset in terms of like, are you getting unemployment insurance or not? And maybe there are enough different in cost that unemployment benefits are this much higher. Well, then, we're back to, if we get people back in the workforce, is that a net loss for the government? Under the weird circumstance that we have runaway unemployment.
That's a really good question. That perhaps it wouldn't be monetarily beneficial to put more people on the workforce. That then it slips into a moral question.
Okay.
I would say
trying to rescue this from the jaws of being only a moral question.
Yeah.
Are there benefits to intervening with somebody? You said healthcare, that are a net benefit in the long run. Is there stitch in time saves 9 kind of benefits?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Providing healthcare in a timely manner. Does that change it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the safety net, metaphor is supposed to do, is keep you from, completely falling on the pavement. So yeah, I think a lot of it is that, and just and honestly, I think you could maybe make an argument that just having happier people in your country would, even if you don't need them in the workforce, make for a better economy.
I'm bringing back my peeps. Can you all think of questions that I haven't asked that you thought would be good?
I'm trying. I don't have any yet. So, David,
I'm happy to share screen. So we're not going into Dunning-Kruger again. Don't worry. What is your current understanding of the word syllogism?
Boy, I hate being put on the spot like this. A syllogism is something I need you to explain to me.
That's absolutely fine. It's a formal.
I have a slight grasp of it. I'm sure when you say it, I'll remember.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. It is a formal logical structure to an argument. So Dali, if I could share screen.
Yes, I'm looking for your share screen. Do you have permission
there we go.
to do that? Oh, I have a. Ooh, look.
I hope these colors are lovely. This won't be perfect, but I'll just try and guide you through it. This is where I'm currently at with your claim. So this is one of the oldest proper syllogisms. Okay. So you've got your premises that lead to a conclusion. So we've got all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, your conclusion must be Socrates is mortal. And that would be considered deductive logic. Am I right so far, Dali?
So far, all the words I understand are correct.
Perfect. Okay. Always want a second opinion. So the closest I can get to such a logical argument for your claim is something very similar to what is in the middle. So if the aim of capitalism is to increase capital and homelessness decreases capital, then homelessness is contrary to the aim of capitalism. But your claim is specifically it's counterproductive to criminalize homelessness. So my question was, given all of this lovely information, what would be your premise or premises? Doesn't have to be 2, could be 10. That then lead to some sort of logical, and therefore it's counterproductive to criminalize homelessness.
Homelessness leads to a instability in humans, and inherent instability, perhaps. I think that goes back to sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Okay, I am just going to throw some words down. It won't be perfect because this is obviously just your first thoughts, and if you're not sure on a syllogism, then it really takes time to sort of get the words right. So this can be edited as much as you like, including the conclusion. So my first question on that would be, why is it important to be for humans to be stable?
It's a place to put their stuff, quite literally, in order to sort of function as a human. You sort of have to have a certain amount of stuff, be it clothing or items you need to wash yourself with. Also, it gives you that, hopefully that basic shower and a place to stay clean and able to be social. I'd say most basically.
Is that roughly stability provides a foundation necessary to meet basic human needs? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously this would continue. I don't know if people will have other points they want to get to, but this could easily continue beyond C. So I would just continue going. And it would be eventually mentioning criminalization needs to be in there. Can we make a claim that meets sort of this upper statement from below kind of thing? Something to do with criminalization? Does criminalization take away those basic human needs?
Yes. Yeah. Criminalization takes away those needs. Yes.
So my initial thought there would be, are you fed in what would be, I assume if you're criminalized, that means you would be in prison or jail. So would you be fed, showered, etc.?
Penalized, yes. Perhaps given tickets. I'd say what commonly happens is your stuff is destroyed and thrown away.
So just because this is American versus sort of rest of the world, lots of different prison systems. Are we saying that when you leave the criminal system, and maybe this is just a sort of one shoe fits all answer, when you leave, you're left empty-handed and you don't have as much as you went in with?
I guess I'm speaking more about the homeless sweeps that happen in American cities that I touched upon before, where there are certain areas that homeless people will congregate more out of safety, and I'm not sure how those areas are decided upon or whatever, but and then the city will eventually, when it gets out of hand, essentially bulldoze everything into garbage trucks, and the homeless people will have to start over, finding tents or whatever, makeshift materials they can. So I don't think that's perhaps not the rule of what cities are doing, but it is a common practice in the U.S. for that to happen, basically just in a cyclical manner.
So, sorry, I just mistyped that last bit. So I was going to say basic human needs are removed through criminalization. Is that an argument that is against other forms of criminalization as well, not just homelessness?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I'm sure it's I'm sure it could be argued that it bleeds over. I'm sure there are drug legalization advocates who might argue that the legalization of drugs does that, or illegalization of drugs, the prohibition of drugs does that. But yeah, I'm sure there are other instances that that one could argue infringe on a natural tendency of humans.
Just a quick one, because I'm pretty happy I've got what I need sort of across to you. Start that sentence again. Is this visualization sort of helping at all? Can I take it off screen or?
Yeah, I think it's sort of bringing out the pillars of my main claim.
Nice. But you can see how I'm trying to sort of watertight it, as it were. So if there's certain words that aren't clarified from the statement before, I need to then take it and I need to say, well, why is stability important? And then I said it takes, it meets basic human needs. Why is that important? And you keep going until you have some sort of claim, or you can go in the other direction as well.
We could go
perfectly watertight. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could even go, because it's a nice thing to do,
that's leaning toward the moral claim component. I want to suggest
perhaps, yeah. But maybe
claim
just
that might be implied in what you're saying in order to fit the syllogism notion. And that is that when you criminalize somebody, you lose value to society, disproportionate, that there is a significant loss that occurs when you incarcerate a homeless person. Maybe there's a big cost for incarceration, and maybe there's a huge potential in their life that's lost.
And I'm not so much talking about incarceration. And I think honestly, if it's probably a homeless person would be incarcerated more likely based on drugs or something, some other behavior. I think just the penalty for vagrancy or something like that, maybe trespassing or something, are pretty small, and maybe just a couple of days in jail. I don't think they're being scooped up and sent to long-term prison sentences. I think perhaps we'd see less of a homeless issue if that were actually the case. And thank God it isn't. But yeah. But maybe it would solve a certain... I don't recommend prison for homeless people to solve the homeless problem. And I just want to make myself clear there.
Yeah. Asking how asks if a person's possessions are stored and returned to them, would this problem lessen? Would this be less of a problem if the clear reason happens that they didn't lose assets?
I would say that would be a certain amount of harm reduction. Yeah.
David, I hope I'm not stepping on your process.
No. Point was got across. Don't know.
Good.
Maybe it was useful. Maybe it wasn't.
I'd love to hear any opposing viewpoints and reasons. I know that's. I know we're talking about sort of the reasons for believing things here, or reasons for claims, but I'd also be open to any other thoughts that anyone has if they'd like to make them. things I hadn't thought of. Blind spots are what I'm interested in.
I did think of a couple questions. It was difficult for me to do. And I'm not sure that they're the best questions, but I'm still going to ask them. So one is, because it seems like there's also this view of kind of like an underutilization of homeless people. If we create obstacles there, then they can't get back in the workforce and contribute to society. Was that what was being said?
Yep, on a basic level, yeah.
Okay, so if the advent of AI, if we created AI that we learned could do those jobs that the homeless would do better, would that start to change the position? As unethical as that would result.
I would, yeah, and I liked how that was, sort of brought up a little bit before with sort of the need for more workers. No, I think that if the need is there, then as a country, I think that's where it gets. Then I would have to keep the claim and go and make it a moral claim.
Okay. Yeah, and then there's another one that's not well formed, but it has something to do with their suffering. Like if you found out that
they were happier.
Yeah, well, I think, hold on, let me try to do this. I think I actually can do it. If you found out that making it illegal, which will result in penalties, would actually increase the chances that people would rise out of homelessness. Might this also? I don't think that that's the case, but I'm wondering if we found out that was the case, if it really created an incentive for them to better their lives.
I don't think that would. My understanding of humanity would lead me to believe that would not work, or would basically compress the problem into a different area, arguably, or just cause other bad issues. I mean, there would have to be a lot of sort of things healthcare wise, sort of in between those, that would have to happen. It'd be a tough sell.
Okay.
Yep, that's what radical hypotheticals are for. Figure out if it would move you or whether you just have to dig in and reject it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want you to make up something. This is a creative exercise. You have to make up something you don't know. Information that would move you from 85 to 95. It has to be fiction.
Well, I would, let's see. I do understand that there are other countries that have dealt with their homelessness issues to perhaps arguably a better result. And so I think seeing data on that, how that was rolled out, unfortunately, they're usually much smaller countries. And so perhaps there are more logistics with rolling it out in a country the size of the US. But seeing those numbers might encourage me to be more of a believer of this claim.
So if you saw the benefits of other countries dealing with their homeless people differently, and you were convinced that it was somehow there's a scale thing about moving when you're bigger or smaller, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'll take your word for it. Somehow, if you're bigger, you have to move slower. That that would move you to thinking that it was a better idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know which country that is? I think it's not,
what's that?
I think it's not fiction. I think you're joking. I think you didn't make up a new creative thinking. I think you were directly looking at something.
No. I'm not planting it. My memory is horrible. I don't know if it's long COVID or the fact that I smoke pot, but I would say that there are countries out there that I've anecdotally heard have had great successes with having major safety nets in place to where, people are given a lot of help in order to resolve their situations.
Yeah.
And that, it has, and these countries seem happy.
Denmark. Okay.
Yeah. They're those countries up there. And I think, if we wanted, it was Norway also is a big one. I think there's, I forget what country it is that basically decriminalized drug use and has made it a medical issue, addiction, and has had great success with that as well.
For some reason, Amsterdam was coming in, but I'm not sure I can source that.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Germany, but I have a friend who's in Amsterdam.
I think it's a Latin American country, perhaps, or a Latin European country there too.
I think it's still illegal in Amsterdam. You just won't get arrested for it, I think, is the thing. But sorry,
perhaps
I didn't mean
I'm
to get
thinking Paraguay or something.
Well, our audience knows, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing nice is about street epistemology isn't necessarily shooting for the goal of determining the truth of the claim, only really digging for the reasons and the thoughts behind and leaving the conclusion for people who like to conclude. Yes. And thank you.
Portugal. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much for that claim. I appreciate.
Thanks for having me back again. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
It was awesome. That was a good conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I know that David is holding out for a hero. Would like somebody from the audience to call in. Thomas, you already gave one, but so I think he's holding out for a different hero.
Yes.
Yeah, honest and clear. We like that. Unlike the rest of us. No.
Thank you asking.
Yep.
I wonder what you're going to call him then.
It depends on after what he becomes after you add enough candy and they metamorphose. I refuse to say they evolve. That's the wrong word. I'll accept a lot of definitions, except when they define themselves as their opposite. Meiosis is not mitosis, I swear. So let me click there's a promotion ticker. Yes. So somebody call in, especially if you have a high confidence in a claim. By the way, that's the same as an extraordinarily low confidence in the negative of the claim. So you can have either of those would qualify as David would like to practice on a blind claim. Yes, non-generational evolution. Yeah, no, that's called metamorphosis. It's like butterflies. Damn it. Anyway. And my family, other than me, plays Pokemon to do the walkies, and it's great for them. It's lovely, and then they use these words, and I go, anyway. That's not what I mean.
I've never thought about that before. I've been using that word inappropriately. Wow.
Oh, evolving?
Yeah, I've never thought about that. I've never thought about the fact that Pokemon actually don't evolve.
Yeah.
Never crossed my mind for whatever reason.
I am pedantic to a fault, so please don't take how seriously I take this to have any relevance to the question. Let's see. The chapters: evolution and Pokemon. Have to spell those corrections. No, elocution.
I think something I could piggyback off of what you said earlier too, Dali, was not only is the point of SE not to necessarily determine the truth of claims, but you really need to be careful with any one conversation thinking that you can prove to a high degree a claim with just one conversation. That really you should hold things provisionally, and that's okay. It might move you a little bit, and that's okay. Some certain arguments may even move you a lot, but that's not how it usually goes, and that's probably not usually how it can go with a lot of claims, because there's got to be a lot of information involved with certain claims. They're very multifaceted, so you have to be really careful with that.
I was speaking last night with a friend I respect. That narrows it down, right? About the question of street epistemology. My friend is saying the street epistemology is about causing doubt. And that's probably bad. Why do you want to force doubt on people? And I replied that I'm a proselyte for thinking about things in probabilistic or confidence terms on a gradient. If I'm evangelizing for something, it's against black and white thinking. So I guess my religion is grayscale. That if I have a religion, it's believing things not 100 or 0%.
Nuances seems to be going away. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that also the disease on Game of Thrones, grayscale? Is that what that's called? Maybe not. Maybe I got the name wrong.
Nuance grayscales. Sorry, I missed that.
There's a disease on Game of Thrones. I forget what it's called, but it causes people to like turn to stone or something.
Oh, okay.
It is called that.
Yes, yes, it is.
So maybe don't say that your religion is grayscale. No, I'm just
my religion is grayscale. Yeah, I mean, if you want to say I have a religion, critical thinking and thinking probabilistically and confidence on a gradient. That's my religion. Yes, join us with any claim. Ideally, one that you have a strong confidence. Doesn't have to be like a perfect 100 or something, but I have strong confidence in lots and lots of claims, especially in physics.
It took me a couple of days to kind of look back at the claim I made on the show and kind of cringe in the fact that it could have been very insensitive to people who were enslaved and their relatives. And so that, kind of made me plummet in my confidence on that particular
because you got pushback on using the word slavery.
No, this is my own pushback. This is what occurred to me in that. So
claiming the term slavery, even saying this is a light form of slavery, was disrespectful to the memory of actual slavery?
It wasn't so much of a PC sort of thing, but in sort of reflecting on what it actually is to be a slave, made me really want to back off of that claim.
Could you repeat the claim just one more time? Because I forgot what it was at this point.
The claim was without some socialism, capitalism is slavery light.
Right. That was from the prior week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or two shows back.
Two shows back. Okay. Yeah, I can't keep these. I can't remember. I don't know. I have to go.
I remember I was there.
You were my interlocutor.
So,
Yeah.
question for you about slavery: are conscripts, people drafted in the military, are they slaves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this makes me think of a story. I used to live in Southern California for a while, and I had a friend who was in the military there. There's a base close by, and he lived in the same apartment complex I lived in. And he had gotten in trouble for, I don't know, using some sort of illegal substance. And one of the charges was destruction of government property, which meant himself. So that kind of informs me on sort of when you join the military, what is usually implied.
Yeah, I think this is interesting to me because, now I'm thinking, I do agree that the original claim, I would have issues with that claim too, but it is like, okay, so if soldiers are slaves, but conscripts, I'm sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding the distinction.
Volunteer.
Well, yeah. Oh, I'm sure in the U.S. that there are avenues out of the military if you really don't want to be in or think you made a mistake.
Yeah. But like they also get vacation, right? There's time where they can leave the base and kind of do what they want, right? Like maybe I don't understand what a conscript is. That's just a person who voluntarily joins the military. That's the idea.
That's the other. A conscript is one who the government says, no, you will come here. You are drafted.
Never mind.
And you must serve in the military and so on. And
Gotcha.
I don't think if you gave them a weekend home after boot camp that counts. It's still,
all right.
It's just a long leash.
People got time off from building the pyramids, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I don't think the pyramids were built by slaves.
Oh, interesting.
Not many, right? There may have been some, but it just wasn't a lot.
But no, I don't think there were any.
Oh, there were any? Okay.
We did slaves at the time. I think what they did was they taxed the shit out of years that had lots of food. They stored food really well. And then they had make work projects that would give beer and wheat to people. If they could come out, they could get food and beer, and they could get the basics by working on a public works project that was available all the time. And that's how they did welfare with the food, I think. Now, I'm speculating for some of this. This is a bit of a stretch, so I'm not an authority at all, but I'm just looking at what I understand of Egypt and the way they handled things is that's the way they could hand the food back to people. And so in a rich year, nobody's working on the pyramids. And in a poor year, almost everybody's working on the pyramids. Solved.
Yeah, I'm wondering though, so like with the idea of like conscripts versus like, people who volunteer for the military, right? Like they're, like in Hebrew culture, they didn't necessarily, they did sometimes obviously just abduct you and turn you into a slave, but sometimes you agreed to be a slave, but we still consider that slavery as well.
Right, but we say indentured servitude versus slavery where you are chattel and can be inherited. We see those as two separate depths of slavery.
Right. But yeah, I guess I'm just thinking, like, to me, the only thing that I could think to distinct it from a volunteer soldier who is now basically government property, apart from the fact that they can go on vacation and things, is the vacation. It's the fact that they still have downtime that they can decide what they want to do with it. Whereas when you're a slave, you're pretty much subject to whatever the person that owns you wants at any time. Like your time is their time at that point.
Justin asks, if it is voluntary, is it more about the level of control possessed by the owner? Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at.
Say that,
yeah,
it is a control gradient question, which means that taxes is slavery only in much smaller letters than conscription, than chattel and huge letters. There's got to be gradients to this kind of thing.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
But carry on.
No, I was just going to expand on that and say, I bet we could figure out which ones are better and worse by asking people trolley questions about which position they'd rather be in for different amounts of time, or their families, or the various things, so that we could say, this is worse than that from a lot of perspectives. Just a way.
Or more desirable, at least.
Yeah, more or less desirable, or more or less undesirable. You could probably do those comparisons hypothetically and get something like a sort order.
I wanted to have two very quick fire questions. They are linked together. I know that you've just said that your confidence level went down, and so I'm going to try and just mess with your head a bit.
Here we go.
Do forgive me. So you said your confidence level changed because you thought that people would interpret it as insensitive. Is that correct?
Oh, no.
My
No,
apologies. What was the
because
claim?
I interpreted it as insensitive. This
Right.
wasn't based on what anyone else would think. That certainly entered my mind, and I don't think this is really boils down to a PC. Ultimately, that certainly has a part, arguably, sort of the PC-ness of using that word. But to my mind, it was an inappropriate usage for what I wanted to convey.
I've got you. Okay.
That's the essential, and that's why I'm basically, I would say my confidence is almost to the point of wanting to disavow that statement, that claim altogether.
Okay. It may negate my first question in that case, but
Okay.
I'm happy
Yeah.
to ask it anyway. Why is sensitivity important?
Oh, I think accuracy is, I would say accuracy is important. And I would say relying. See, I want to make an overbroad statement, and I'm stepping on the brakes.
100% confidence.
I would hope that that relying on the accuracy of labels or descriptions would preempt any possible PC sort of concerns, and that it wouldn't sort of be a level of analysis restrained by a cart before the horse sort of thinking and worry. But maybe I'm naive, and just that's sort of how it occurs to me now, is that if it were accurate enough, then you don't have to worry about it being PC, because you have facts to bolster your claims.
I really respect the intellectual humility of not going for a clickbait title and making only the most modest claim that fully suits. That's a good thing.
Yeah. And it's very natural for me to want to make sort of broad, but I would rather,
clickbait works.
You said about ideas being multifaceted. I didn't think anything of it when I was making that claim, but it took me a couple of days to reflect on it, and it was just sort of a, maybe a privileged blind spot that I had at that time, that I realize I don't, hold.
So in that case, a very quick one, because I'm still trying to clarify the first question. So is it important to you to avoid causing other people discomfort?
I would say naturally, I sort of fall into the people pleaser category personally.
Okay.
And so it would be my natural instinct to want to avoid conflict. But I don't think that, like I said, I feel like it's sort of cart before the horse, and that that the and maybe you should restate the question again to make sure I'm staying on track.
No, that's absolutely
How
fine.
important is it, or why is it important to, what was it?
Yeah, so basically, how important is it to you to not cause other people discomfort?
It's not. It's not something I obsess about. And I guess it would be arguable to say I should or shouldn't more. So how important, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, it depends on who we're talking about. If we're talking about my mom, I'd say it's pretty important to, not broach certain subjects with her, that we understand that there are going to be disagreements on. But that's just my style. That may change if I thought we could have conversations where we could walk away happy people. That would be different, and maybe I'm speaking out of the context that you're sort of wanting.
Well, I
in your
can go
question.
straight into the. I can go straight into the second question if you like, where I'm sort of leading you towards.
Okay.
Is it possible to change someone's mind without causing some sort of discomfort?
I would say that just yes. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, you see street epistemologists doing it all the time. I would say that once I started applying street epistemology just to my sort of inner dialogues and sort of beliefs that I hold offhand day to day, I would say that it's improved my clarity of vision, and sort of disconnects me somewhat to these notions and claims and things we think are true at any given time, and some sort of just run in the background and should be addressed sort of in an SE sort of manner. Yeah. So did that answer the question?
That's fine. The only thought I'm having is very similar to what Gina has in the background, which is even as relatively, dare I speak for myself, timid, we sort of come across as non-confrontational. As far as I understood what you said earlier, this may be a sort of post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy for anyone who's sort of got their bingo card out, but I may have caused you some discomfort from the last conversation, which has then changed your mind and put you in a better position now that you've further clarified your position.
I have thought about that. That, isn't it convenient that I sort of am following the the track of the of that scale. I don't think so. I don't. Perhaps I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know how that may have influenced my thinking on the matter or not. But I don't think I don't think it was. I mean, was it insulting? Did you? I don't think it was insulting simply because I don't think you meant for it to be insulting. Do you know what I mean? So I understand the feeling, and I know the feeling of sort of like uncomfortability when something is challenged, sort of ego sort of mechanism, sort of like, this. But I also recognize it and sort of am able to take it for what it is, and I feel like the information is the horse, that might be the cart, but or part of the cart for some people, and it's stronger for certain subjects probably than others, so I feel like people's minds can be changed. I feel like claims and those sort of beliefs are always going to be a work in progress, and I don't know if we can ever experience ultimate truth in its raw form, so we're doing the best we can, and there is a certain separation, I think, that SE provides, or a certain sort of, it's almost, I want to say don't hate the player, hate the game, and also I want to say it takes two to tango, and also I want to say we don't live in vacuums, and we're getting these ideas from somewhere. It's not like it's mine, and so it changes, it floats around, it's different from day to day, just like I am, so I don't feel that insulted. In fact, I kind of crave information that knocks my beliefs down, because it's like, it's better. How could it not be better? I mean, it's crazy to me. Some people argue that sort of like that. Gosh, I don't want to name him, but this one philosopher that's like, it makes us less happy to know more truth, and he's done the studies on it, and it doesn't sit right with me. I mean, part of me sort of fears that he might be right, but it doesn't line up with what I've experienced.
Do we have somebody else in the room, or is that?
I know who Sam is. Sam's not showing video, so I can't tell.
Gotcha.
Sam, if you have a claim, please show video and or type it if you want us to read things.
And then I totally thought of a what are they called? I'm not familiar with them at all, but a blind SE claim, but it's only at the last minute here, so I don't want to give it now. But maybe in the future, David, I got one for you.
Do you think I'm being too relativistic?
I don't personally think so.
I don't see that as a problem, especially when you're talking about moral claims are almost necessarily subjective. People could argue that there's an objective moral reality, but then if you actually pin them down to reading you that book that they have, nobody can agree on it. So even the moral realists can't agree on what moral reality is. So until I know better, subjective is okay. Good enough for this show.
Yeah, I think any it's my opinion, but yeah, any claims of objective morality, I'm fine with them, but it's a very thin layer. Like it's just so fragile. Like the idea is so fragile that the smallest amount of scrutiny is going to start to break it down significantly, in my view.
Okay, so thank you all for all of this. I don't think we have any other callers calling in. Does anybody have any last words they would like to put in before I ship you all off to the Ukraine? I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to tell you about that.
I want to help. I'll go.
Ugh.
I'm obviously just joking. That would not be fun.
Yeah, that's there's some stuff going on over there. That's taking a lot of my attention, and nothing I can do about it.
We do a weekly update on the shills it was last night, so every Friday night for the UK, and it'll be something like evening for North America, where we interview Operator Starsky, and you can check out the shills on YouTube.
Please give me a post so I can post that. I want to stick that in.
Sure, if I could find it.
I like operators.
I might throw something up on Discord for you.
Okay, that'll be fine. I can copy it from Discord and throw it in the link.
We are rude and crude.
Rude and crude. Good.
This is a soldier we're talking about, you know.
Yes. I've been following Operator Starsky quite a bit for I don't know, almost since this thing started.
We've been interviewing him since it started. Yeah.
Oh my!
It's fun stuff. Fascinating individual. Let me throw that link to. Not that guy. Let's throw it to that guy.
Okay. Oh,
this was last night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ethan, what was it called again, David?
The Shills. Is that the YouTube channel you're looking for?
Yeah.
Yes, a collective of various different individuals from across the world, from typically, Canada or North America, UK, and a little bit elsewhere, just sort of scattered.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to get a new subscriber in just a few minutes. And so for now, I want us to all see if we can. There's the routine now with this is, and I'm glad none of you have done it, that the broadcast will end as soon as all four of us are waving. All four of us have to wave, though, because it won't work unless all four of us are waving. We're just going to be sitting here looking at each other.
All right.
Well,
we start now, or when do we start?
Well, when all four of us. That's
okay. So we have to do it.
It's a StreamYard function. The StreamYard only works right if all four of us. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I think that's enough.